left the appointment crying because we sit down and she just immediately was like, so IVF is like 20 to 30K. I was like, are you going to ask me any questions? From the very get-go, when we were chatting on OkCupid, it was very clear we both wanted to be moms. And that was a major attraction to each other. I think even on your profile, you had a picture of you and your nephew. And that was like, sold, done. Mm-hmm. While we were engaged, we had set up a date of, okay, on this day, we're going to talk about when we want to. And that date came, and I still remember it very clearly.
I feel like that date came quicker than I thought it was going to come.
Yeah, we literally looked at each other like, oh, we're supposed to talk about this? No, we're not ready yet.
I think we were married a year and then started talking about it and then realized we were not ready quite yet.
Yeah, we wanted more time. We got married in 2016. We started the process in 2018. By the time we got married, we knew you were going to carry for sure. I had no desire to. You really only wanted to carry once.
Yeah, I didn't have this urge to carry. It shouldn't have been a big factor, but I knew my parents would have enjoyed seeing me pregnant, and I wasn't anti being pregnant.
I was anti.
But the deal was, Kim does all the research, and I am the oven. So most of this interview will probably be about how Kim navigated same-sex couples conceiving.
Yeah, you showed up to the appointments. Well, I mean, you did a lot more than
Poked and prodded.
Yeah. I didn't have a lot of exposure. I knew a gay male couple, and obviously that's a very different path to having kids than us. We had a uterus available and eggs available. It was just the sperm we needed. I started with finding an OB that would help guide the process. And our first OB appointment, I think your sister referred us, because neither of us had a consistent OB at that point. I left the appointment crying because we sit down and she just immediately was like, so IVF is like 20 to 30K. I was like, are you going to ask me any questions? We were going there for guidance because we...
As a starting point.
Yeah. Hindsight, we probably spent more than that trying to get pregnant. But all that to say, it was not the experience I was expecting. And it was very clear that she had not worked with a lesbian couple before. It was very defeating. But leaving that appointment, I recalled one of my friends from college in a same-sex marriage, also trying to get pregnant around the same time, or had just recently gotten pregnant. So I reached out to her. And she had told me pretty quickly, there's other options. You don't have to do IVF. She just gave me a few things to look into. It was a lot of Googling. We had contemplated the idea of a semi-known-ish donor. Correct. Like a friend of a friend or somebody removed who didn't live here. But then it all came down to that we really did want as much anonymity as possible and separation with the donor. Also knowing that we were going to give our child as much information about who they are as possible. We did sperm bank for a few times and it wasn't happening. So then we're like, let's try a known donor. We didn't know them. It was an app called Just a Baby. This guy had been a donor to other families before, vetted and signed contracts and stuff.
Kim handled a lot of it, but just working with a known donor and when the meetup was going to be, when I was ovulating, are they available? There was just a lot of phone tags.
We did, 2 rounds with him because we thought maybe with live sperm, the lifespan is longer. It can live inside the body for several days and basically wait for the egg to inseminate. With frozen sperm, the lifespan is much shorter. You have to get that timing really spot on. And so we're wondering, is it just the timing? Like we need a bigger window.
I was getting a little weirded out about the known donor and we had talked about it, but in my mind, it's like they have your information. They have family members. What if they share to their mom or dad? Then they're going to want to have involvement of the child. So I just saw this domino effect of like, we're the ones wanting to be parents. And we're opening that door for a complete stranger and their entire family to potentially want in on this child's life. I think the stars just aligned where we were unsuccessful with the known donor, and going through the cryobank made me feel a lot better. When we went back the second time to pick more sperm from our first donor, he was available, but at that time they had opened up their profile to include current adult photos, not just child photos. So we dodged a bullet because the guy was not Aquaman as described in the profile. I thought I was going to get Jason Momoa, and it was not
Jason Momoa.
So we pivoted. The criteria for us initially, it seems vain, but full lips and sweet eyes, and then going down through the
health and personality.
The full lips, because we both have full lips. It would be weird if we had a child that had thin lips.
I didn't care if my kid looked like me.
I asked if she wanted a Jewish donor, and she did not.
I said I would prefer not Jewish because of all the health.
Yeah.
Which is why I didn't want to carry. Yeah. But even just, I didn't care if our donor had blue eyes or, any of my other features. And then we listened to the interviews, and that was pretty cool. When we finally listened to the donor that we ended up with, it was
his mom was his best friend, and he was just very well spoken.
He was a surfer, but also I think he was like a psychology major, if I remember.
Like an empathetic,
a very
individual,
balanced person.
So yeah, that's how we picked our donor.
I think we tried 3 or 4 different donors over the whole year and a half.
We tried several times and we were unsuccessful. Nothing was taking, and in previous appointments we were filled with optimism. They would check my uterus. They said the lining was very thick, which means typically that it's ready for implantation. We started working with Adrouny, our OBGYN.
She was with us through the whole process. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was wonderful.
After being asked questions of, do I have irregular periods, or do I have like all these symptoms that would maybe indicate that I have endometriosis or something going on in my body that's preventing me from getting pregnant, we decided let's take a look and see what's going on. Turns out my entire uterus was covered in polyps. So even if I did have a successful egg, it had nowhere to attach on my uterus lining. I had a surgery to scrape my uterus, and 2 weeks later we did another insemination, and it was successful. All those letdowns of high hopes, maybe this time it'll work, and then being disappointed, all that money spent, and come to find out it was just
not just, I mean,
well, yeah.
There was no way to know until we went in and looked, because you were completely asymptomatic, and every test was, no, you look good, you look good, you look good. It was really up to our intuition, ours and Dr. Adrouny's, to be like, okay, this isn't working. Why is it not working? You're ovulating. We're doing the recommended timing. You did Clomid. You did all these different things. And
Clomid, man. I went off on a UPS guy. I was so
it was building.
Anger.
It was building. It was
Clomid was crazy.
Thank goodness for Dr. Adrouny just saying, like, okay, let's go in and look. And I remember the moment I was sitting in the waiting room with your mom, and she comes in, and your mom had never met her yet, and she introduces herself. She's like, so we found the problem. And she showed me a picture, and she's like, this is the most impressive amount of polyps I've ever seen. And then you were scraped on your day 1. 2 weeks later, you ovulated on time, got pregnant. When you get sperm from a cryobank,
they need to make sure you're sound of mind.
Yeah.
Not do anything irresponsible with
right.
it.
But the questions they asked were, how do you plan to talk about your child's conception and where they're from? Having a early childhood background, I knew it's going to just be part of the conversation from the get-go, where they came from. They have a donor, the background of the donor. I didn't really give her an option, because that was a decision that I made for us, knowing the impact. It was a really quick call, but also in the back of my head, I'm thinking, do straight couples have to do this? If a straight couple has to get an egg donor or a sperm donor, is this required of them?
We had a pretty good all-star team behind us. We had our OB, we had our acupuncturist, we had our chiropractor, and we invited them all to our virtual baby shower because our child was born in 2020 of shelter in place.
Having people that are willing to fight for you and explore options with you and just be in it with you makes all the difference. Pride has always been important to me, partially in the sense of I'm very straight looking, and when I'm at Pride and get to be very out, I feel part of a community, because often for me I feel like I'm not fully here, I'm not fully there. Now being a parent, so much more important of having that community to make it feel normal for our kid that she has two moms.
To see other families that look like ours and the love and support that the community can bring.
Out of the desire to have more community for myself and knowing how beneficial it is for mental well-being for our kids, I am building the Pride Family Village, which will be a community through Adrouny Village Wellness, an opportunity for people to connect and find their support systems. And whether you already have kids or you want children, or maybe you don't want children, a family can be 2, 3 adults, whatever that looks like for you, just finding community.
If you are a child of same-sex couple,
yeah. Once you're done with the clubbing phase, like where do we find the other queer people? It's important to feel normal and feel part of a community. We will have different events. Right now I have a few planned, but I'm excited to let the community plan things too. And for it to leave the village, for people to really genuinely make friends and take their friendship into the real world.